It's not honestly a phrase.
Hold on.
I was never straight. I know. I was just
Okay. Is that better? Nope. We are peaking like crazy. What the heck? There we go. That's probably not going to work. We are peaking like crazy.
Wait.
Check.
Wait. You're saying audio?
Yeah, I can hear you, but now it's choppy. Okay. Are we peaking or is it just choppy? That's what I need to know. They got it. That got it. Okay. Can you hear us? Are we good? Are we good? So far, the audio is impressively bad. Audio, but choppy. Peaking, but peaking or choppy. Okay, it's probably a little bit of both. What the crap?
Okay. Sorry, babe.
Get back in. Okay.
Wait, it's fine now.
What?
That's what Vince said. Audio is great now. Smiley face.
What the heck? Check, check. There we go. Okay, that's the audio we should have had from the beginning.
Okay, peaking, but background is shouting you out too.
Yeah, no. Because it was going off the mic here, so that's why.
Okay.
All right. That should be good. We should be all set now. All right. Background is loud. We should be on these now. Very low, much better. Okay, so they're catching up. Very low. Yeah, okay. I knew it was very low. Much better. Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
False start.
Yeah. That's from the top.
From the top. Hey, we're live. Want to rewind?
Yeah, let's try that again.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm George from Chips and Cheese.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much. Oh, hold on.
Huh? No,
check.
Yeah.
Check. All right, there we go. Different cable, different USB controller. I am stressing the hell out of this laptop right now. It's Cheese's fault. We're back. Okay,
it's always my fault.
It's always Cheese's fault. Anyway, all right. There we go. Everyone hear us? Cool.
Are we good?
We are at our home away from home. Can I get through more than one sentence this time?
Maybe not.
Sunnyvale, California. We're here in the Bay Area at Laughing Monk Brewery. Great beer, great food, great atmosphere, and they always love having us here, and we're happy to come back. Yeah, put another quarter in it. Thank you. Anyway, we are here for Nvidia GTC. Talking data center, enterprise, and everything in between.
Yeah.
It has been a pretty fun show. Started off with Jensen with 2.5 hours on a stage with a t-shirt can and no teleprompter.
Yeah, it was very interesting. What's funny was I didn't watch the keynote live. I was in a meeting, so I wasn't there. I just got sort of the edited highlights of basically what my Discord distilled down into a TLDR for me.
Yeah. So I didn't make the keynote either. My plane didn't land until 8:30 in the morning yesterday. And if you didn't get in line by 7, you didn't get in.
There were people lining up before midnight.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It was kind of crazy.
Like, so We are drinking
This is the
Laughing Monk Redwood Ale,
Yes.
which is an amber red ale, 5.6%.
Yep. Cream soda, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the right color for
Yeah.
that. I'll buy that. So, yeah. Why are you always promoting alcohol on your videos? Did you see the channel name? Did you see the logo? Gosh. Promoting? No, not promoting. Enjoying, maybe. Anyway. So yeah, the keynote started off with some chaotic energy.
You know, that's what we should have had.
What's that?
Just in front as some tacos.
Some tacos. we might have to get an apple like mozzarella sticks or something here.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't just have a giant meal an hour and a half ago. We found the new pizza place down here that was fantastic.
Really good. In an industrial park, which means that it has to be good to survive.
That's exactly right.
So it was really good.
For those who watch the show regularly, you'll know one of my favorite local brews is St Ampere, and it's a little English pub that's tucked into an industrial park in Salem, Oregon. We found a pizza place just like that here in San Jose, and I went. You know what they say about these places? It's either brand new or it's dead. You have to be good in those places to survive. And this everything we had there was good. We had sliders, we had fries, you had some wings.
Yeah.
We had 2 different 12-inch pizzas. No complaints. Anyway, so yeah, we started off with a little bit of chaotic energy with the keynote. And the Nvidia stock price seems to reflect that quite significantly, because you could see the first 20 minutes of the keynote, the stock kind of went up by like $2 and then fell down by $7 and then kind of like leveled off at the end of the day. So it was pretty funny seeing the reaction to everything in real time. In fact, we wanted to put a transcript with the stock ticker to see what words he said that triggered the different events. But a lot of news out of that event. Obviously, probably the biggest one, and I think we'll hit this story first, is Nvidia Digits is not only real but official and coming this summer. Yeah,
they've renamed it. It's now Project Digits. It now has the official name of DGX Spark, and it's just a little guy. It's so small. I want one.
Think the Mac Mini throughout the entire 2010s before they just redesigned it for the M4. It's about the footprint of a Mac Mini. It's about 15 centimeters square.
Yeah.
And very impressive little dense board. I do have some B-roll coming on my channel. I'm hoping to do a full-fledged video on Nvidia Digits, or Spark as it's known now. And incredibly dense board. Obviously, they introduced this at CES earlier this year as kind of like a little side project that may or may not become official. And what we get inside of that is 10 Grace ARM cores, CPU cores.
So it's actually 20 ARM cores.
20 ARM cores.
10 X925
that's right.
cores plus 10 A725 cores.
Yes.
The CPU side has been done by MediaTek, not by Nvidia. So this is a joint collaboration chip. It's called the GB10. It has a 256-bit memory bus, LPDDR5X. So just like this laptop, just like Strix Halo, they are clocking it slightly higher than memory Strix Halo. It's 8533, so that gives you a total memory bandwidth of 273 gigabytes per second. And alongside, you have it in terms of capacity, you have 128 gigabytes of unified memory for the entire system. Then you also have a ConnectX 7 NIC, which is two 200 gig ports of Ethernet. Now, notionally, the CX7 does support InfiniBand. However, in these systems, InfiniBand has been disabled. So it's effectively Ethernet only. But still, you get which is pretty cool for a system the size of a Mac Mini. Or an older gen Mac Mini.
But obviously, the hallmark feature outside of the 20 ARM cores is that the Blackwell GPU on board. Obviously unified memory, but that really does allow for some pretty unique use cases. Honestly, very similar to AMD's Strix Halo, where you can allocate a crap ton of memory to the GPU side of the core. Obviously, with Strix Halo, we're seeing upwards of 110 gigabytes allocatable to the GPU for AI training, AI inference. We're expecting to see something very similar with Spark here. So if you're looking for a tiny AI workstation processing box, you don't necessarily need a giant server rack or anything else. But this would give you 100 plus gigabytes of memory to do your AI training and inferencing with, which is something that's not all that easy to come by.
You wouldn't train so much as inference.
Right.
Like training, you kind of need the bigger.
True,
you need bigger. However, you can make sure that with a box like this, if you're say a academic trying to justify to a requisition board that you need a full system, you can use a couple of these and potentially use that to justify more like a bigger system. I'm pretty sure you can play Doom at 32K with I don't think you need GB10 for that.
Well, what is the max current output resolution of a single Nvidia or AMD GPU?
8K?
Is it 8.5, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's about 8K.
Yeah.
So in terms of the compute, it's 1,000 tops of FP. About 1 petaflop or 1,000 flops of FP4 sparse. So divide that by 2 to get the dense number, 500. And then divide that again to get the FP8. We aren't sure what the FP16 and FP32 numbers are, at least for the vector side. We only know matrix. What I believe, so if you look at the CUDA documentation, Blackwell has 2 versions. The client stuff that you get in the 5000 series, and then you have the data center stuff. The data center stuff is what's known as SM100, and the client stuff is SM120. I believe, I don't have this confirmed, they won't tell me, but I believe that GB10 is in fact SM100, or actually SM101, which is also found in the Drive Thor system, which is Nvidia's level 2, autonomous driving chip that they put in. I think Polestar was there, as well as
Polestar, Rivian, Volvo, and there was one other. They had 4 cars out in their automotive section.
Lucid,
that's right. Demoing basically LiDAR-enabled self-driving features, artificial intelligence safety features. And they actually had one of their full mobile mobile packs for AI processing at the vehicle level on display. That was kind of cool to see as well.
Lenovo. It was actually at the Lenovo booth.
Yeah.
In terms of pricing, so the DGX Spark will not just be available from Nvidia, but also from partners, with the first one being Asus, HP, and Dell, as well, are making a box. I don't know if Lenovo is.
HP, Dell, Asus. Was Lenovo?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Possibly Lenovo.
Yeah.
Coin flip Lenovo.
But the OEM systems are starting with, they start at $3,000. That's with 1 terabyte of SSD storage. The Nvidia Founders Edition, essentially, of the DGX Spark, is $4,000, and that gives you 4 terabytes of SSD. That's really the only difference in terms of the actual hardware specifications. I couldn't tell if there was maybe better performance on some of the OEM systems if they have better cooling, because the the OEM systems do look to be a little bit larger, which could potentially allow for better cooling.
Yeah, I did get hands onto the HP variant of it. It is slightly physically larger than the Nvidia system,
but not by much.
But not by much, yeah.
Right. And Nvidia is saying that the power consumption of the system is 170 watts. This might be a bit of a howler if you're really pushing that a bit. Very howly potentially.
Yeah.
Because it's a old style Mac Mini in terms of the size. So
yeah.
And that's a lot of power for that little bit of space.
So I'm trying to do some battery management right now because my battery is fading a little faster than I expected it to. So yeah, we'll see how we do here. You're at 77. We could probably pull you, and I'm gonna take the battery pack.
Yep.
We are running completely on battery right here, including a double portable screen out here, plus the camera, plus
I don't know. Let me see. What's left?
I'm using both my USB-C ports.
Oh, this is completely fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why
don't you hand me that one? I think that was a higher output.
Yeah. Cool. I think if this is at 100, we should be good. But thank you.
Unfortunately, I have to unplug our screens here because I'm using both of my USB-C ports. Or no, I'm not. I'm not using this one. That's right. Haha. All right.
Yes, but
cool.
Yes, there is a puppers in the background.
Yes.
But so yeah, GB10 is very interesting. The whole DGX Spark actually, I pinged my I really want one. I pinged my AMD contact and I was like, where's my AMD version of this with Strix Halo and a Pensando deck? Give me one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want one. I hope Nvidia send me one. That would be cool.
I definitely hope we get to check it out. We did talk to a couple vendors as well about possibly getting some third-party samples.
Yes.
So yeah, stay tuned because we're hoping within the next month or two we're going to start seeing some review samples hit the market.
Yeah. Yeah. Potentially next 2 months, 3 months for the Nvidia one, and then a little bit later for the OEM.
Yes. Yeah. We're seeing early Q3, I believe, for the OEM or the third party, and May availability. So basically, like Memorial Day weekend. Probably Computex would be my guess for Nvidia's version. No official drop dead date, but May is what we're hearing.
But that wasn't the only sort of, I hesitate to say, workstation-focused product that they announced. There's also the DGX Station, which is effectively a full-fat GB300. Now, the GB300 is a improved memory and new instruction version of the Blackwell GB200 system that we already see out currently. So increased memory bandwidth, increased compute, new instructions for flash attention, which is one of the predominant places that you spend time in computing for AI. And that's paired with a Grace CPU, the same Grace CPU that we've seen since the Hopper generation. Pricing has not been released on this. I suspect it's probably going to be well north of.
Excuse me. Can I order another one? Let me get a Have Mercy.
And can I also get a Have Mercy? Thank you. So this thing will be. Wait. Is it dead?
I don't know. No, there's one person who's saying it's dead. Don't mess with me if it's not dead. Stream is still live. Yeah,
still live.
I'm watching the stream on YouTube just to verify.
Okay.
It's right here and my audio's good. So if your stream has a problem, verify first. Thank you. Don't freak me out.
Back onto the the station, if you want to pull up the image that I sent you, because
Yes.
I think that that's
All right, so here we go.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, this thing three 12 volt high power connectors at the top.
Yeah, let's focus here at the top of this image.
Yeah, let's start from the top and let's go down.
Yeah.
Because holy crap, is that a lot of power?
Yes, it
but
is.
Also, holy crap, that's a lot of GPU and compute. But yeah, so
that is three 12 volt high power for a total of 1,800 watts of delivery if this runs at full chooch.
Well, yeah, if you can pull all that power.
Right.
Now, thing is as we both know, your standard North American power connector and circuit can only deliver 120 volts at 15 amps.
Right.
Which is not 1,800 watts.
No, that's not.
So that's I suspect that it's they're not running this at the full 1,800 watts. They have the three connectors effectively for load balancing.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be my assumption. I'm assuming at max draw, or this is likely going to have a configurable TDP.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere between 1,000 and 1,400 if I had to fathom a guess.
Yeah, so I suspect that the entire system, all of it, is probably going to draw 1,400 to 1,500 watts.
Yeah. From
the power supply.
Yes.
Which is probably going to be about 1,700 from the wall.
Yeah.
It's yeah, the first sort of top, if you're moving down, the first chip on the left side here, that's actually your NIC. If you notice the two QSFP 56s, that's a ConnectX 8. That is two
dual 200s, right?
No,
or 400s.
Dual 400.
400s, that's right.
Dual 400. InfiniBand. But what I don't know is if it's single. So I know that the ConnectX 8 can do one 800 or two 400 over Ethernet. I don't know if it can do if it's doing InfiniBand or not. I did not get that clarified.
Yeah.
It may or may not.
Yeah. We do have a meeting with Nvidia's Enterprise PR tomorrow. We're going to try to get some of our questions clarified, although we've got a really good handle on most of what's in here. So yeah, we've got the ConnectX 8, 400 gig, definitely Ethernet, possibly InfiniBand enabled. If we move down from there, we've got a single M.2, and then obviously the giant chip on the right-hand side. That is the all-new GB300 Blackwell super chip die.
So
784 gig, is that what these are?
No. So that chip, the B300 has 288 gigabytes of HBM3E, which provide a total of 8 terabytes to the GPU.
8 terabyte bandwidth.
Yeah, 8 terabytes of bandwidth. The rest of that memory is coming from the Grace chip.
Yeah, so up to 512 on the Grace, and then 288 on that. Okay.
Yeah, so
that's right.
Although it's an interesting system. Really, what the Grace is acting here as is essentially as a memory expander for the GB300. It adds almost twice as much memory to the system, and if you notice that little daughter board over to the right, that's actually your BMC. The reason why that BMC is there and not on the board is because that board is so densely packed, there was nowhere else to put it.
Yeah. So this little daughter board that's standing up right here, that looks, we were trying to figure out what this was for a while. That is your BMC connector, because there's just no room elsewhere on the board. We had guesses everything from a VRM daughter board to increase power load. We had a CXL expansion for memory. But no, it turns out it's just the BMC.
Yep.
It's an A-speed, what, 2600, 2650, something like that?
I think it's 2650 actually.
Yeah.
I have a better image on my phone, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll leave that just because that's what's powering everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 3 M.2s. I assume those PCIe slots are X16 electrically.
Yeah,
so,
I can't imagine they would be anything else.
Yeah, I can see that all the pins appear to be populated.
Yeah.
And then you have the I/O. If you can pull up the I/O shot, I believe it's 4. Oh boy, I have it on my phone.
I don't think I have the I/O shot. I don't think I have that one
Okay.
copied.
Let me see if I can send it.
Okay.
Real quick.
Let's see. Vince at Circle Rewind says, I still laugh that there are 3 12-volt high-power connectors, but we still need a single. Okay, there we go.
Are we
I
good?
don't know why my audio keeps dying. If it does, if it does again, I'm going to switch to my other set of microphones. I do have another set of mics.
Yeah, I should have brought my set seemingly.
Yeah.
After fixed.
Yeah.
Closed.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. That is the weird. I've never had that issue on this PC before.
Okay. Well, we are pushing it quite hard.
I am. Yeah, suddenly sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am asking a lot out of my 3-year-old 6800U WinMax 2 at this point.
Maybe we should be running this off Strix Halo.
I need a Strix Halo PC. AMD, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Asus, if you're listening. I could definitely use a Strix Halo laptop.
Yeah. But yeah, so
maybe something with decent USB 3 controllers.
But yeah, I sent you the image of the I/O.
Okay.
Let's
see if I can pull that up real quick.
It's 4 USB 3 connectors apparently.
Okay.
And then 2 RJ45 Ethernet connectors. I don't know what the second one's for. One of them's obviously for the BMC.
Yeah.
But the other one, I don't know.
Let's pull it up and we'll take a look here. Oh, there it is.
But yeah, and then the QSFP ports for the audio, and then
so we've got a mini display port. That is a micro USB.
Yeah, and that's for serial.
Yeah,
that's for serial.
Yeah.
I thought when I first saw it, I thought it was I thought it was Type C, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a micro USB.
And then
shame on you, Nvidia. Come on.
And then the one on the far right, I believe, is mini display port.
That's mini display port.
Probably again from the BMC as your video out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I still don't know what the 2 RJ4 I don't know why you have 2 RJ45s. Why not have 1?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Do you want to dance behind us? Oh, thank you so much. So this is the Laughing Monk.
Have mercy.
Have mercy. Cashmere and Mosaic hops. Hazy IPA, 6.5%. So we'll see how this one is. There we go.
That's good. So yeah, it's interesting board. Again, AMD, where's my MI300A version of this? Give me a single socket MI300A board, please.
Right?
Please.
MI325?
Well, there's no A version of it, but I would love. Give me a 256 gigabyte version of MI300A and just stick it on a board, please. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I do love that they still put integrated audio.
Yeah.
Into this board.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious.
Because like instead of room for a BMC, they put a Realtek audio chip.
Which makes you go, wait, what? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that was the important feature to make sure we have.
Okay, so Vince says NIC for BMC, second NIC for networking while installing OS before the NIC drivers are configured for the big CX8. Okay, that makes sense.
Could very well be.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of having two parts sandwiched together, Taco Bell. So Taco Bell. I'll read this verbatim.
Great transition.
I'm always great at those, you know. Taco Bell Parrot Yum Brands partners with Nvidia to speed up its use of AI. So, are you ready for AI-powered taco ordering?
Yeah. So this was one of Nvidia's biggest announcements here, is that not AI is getting close to cracking the human genome at a level that we've never seen, or we've eradicated a virus or anything like that. They did finish their one-to-one model of the Earth, though. That was a cool thing. But it's like we were waiting for a breakthrough moment, a big aha announcement.
And it was tacos.
And what we got instead was, now you don't have to hire a grungy 16-year-old to take your order at Taco Bell. You could simply talk to an AI. And I think this is the point at which the stock started dropping.
Yeah.
But as odd as this is, as weird of a flex as this might seem, and trust me, I am not going to positively spin this. I wanted to bring up the larger conversation of, this is when investors and shareholders and whatnot talk about using AI to enhance businesses and save companies money and things like that. I talked about this a little bit last week with Will Smith from PC World. They're not talking about enhancing worker productivity. They're literally talking about replacing the wetware in businesses. And you start at the bottom.
Yeah. You start with that grungy 16-year-old.
You start with that grungy 16-year-old, exactly. In fact, let me see if I can...
I will... So, okay. But that 16-year-old who can take your order, like, don't we already have, in theory, a quote-unquote replacement for them? An ordering kiosk?
Yeah, basically. But how do you do that in a drive-thru?
True. But, like, here's my thing. Like, I guess it's no different. It's no different to, like, the person in the window mishearing you.
Yeah.
But, like, what happens when the AI mishears you? And you go to correct it, and it doesn't want to correct.
Yeah.
Who are you going to yell at?
Right.
Like, who are you going to yeah. Vince has a point with cell phones.
Yeah.
Like you could order on your phone.
Yeah.
And have it be ready before you get to the drive. So I don't really understand why this announcement was one of the headliners.
Right.
This seems like secondary news you would put in a PR on the Nvidia news site.
Right.
Not Jensen talking about this in his GTC keynote. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a weird... I mean, it is a partnership. It's a partnership that they developed that they didn't have before. but it doesn't have the wow factor, and it actually comes across as, what's wrong with paying a person? What's
Yeah, well, let's take this from the even more cynical view. Is this the best announcement that Nvidia can put forward?
I believe it is. I believe it kind of is.
And I think that's what the stock market thought.
Yeah.
Is this the best that Nvidia can do right now?
Yeah. All of this money being invested into AI, and as far as we've gotten, is it might be able to take your order at Taco Bell.
Yeah. Woo.
Again, I mentioned this quote last week, but Mark Cuban sent out a tweet a couple of weeks ago about you can put an absolute beginner in front of an LLM that's well trained, and he can start putting out master's thesis level work in a subject. And the answer is no, you can't. You have to have a conceptual understanding of what you're asking the AI, so you can check and verify that it's correct.
Yeah.
Because we know AI, LLM in its current form, and even probably in its future form, hallucinate, makes crap up, and everything else. And you as a layman who's trying to just feed this thing instructions has no way of knowing one way or the other which is true. As they've only been able to develop this literally multi-trillion-dollar investment into AI, into something that a 16-year-old can do for minimum wage.
Yeah.
This is where we're at.
Which begs the question...
Genome sequencing notwithstanding.
But, and while there are use cases for AI, like... Actually, no. You know what? I need to stop saying AI. Reduced precision compute. Let's
vibe computing.
or machine learning.
Do I need to go buy the domain vibe computing?
Oh yeah, that would be a funny one. Yeah, it's is there a place for reduced precision compute in HPC, in other places that you would use it? Of course, yes. One of our good friends, Felix. Oh. Ha! You want to check that on?
I may have to buy a domain after the show.
Yes.
Free and loose computing.
Yeah. So, are you Jeff Geerling? Because apparently ChatGPT thinks that.
ChatGPT does confuse me for Jeff Geerling quite often. After you, and again, this is a perfect microcosm of AI. Is Vince, Circuit Rewind, asked ChatGPT one time, tell me about the YouTube channel Craft Computing. And it said Craft Computing is run by Jeff Geerling, who focused, and so they got the name wrong.
Yeah.
Confused me with another YouTuber, which is one that happens all the time, because we're both on YouTube, we're both named Jeff.
Jeff and
Jeff, yeah. It's the old Nickelodeon show, The Adventures of Jeff and Jeff.
Yeah.
Before your time, I know. But it says Craft Computing is a YouTube channel ran by Jeff Geerling that focuses on home lab and things like that. And then it says, well, I didn't think Jeff Geerling runs, or you could tell it, Jeff Geerling runs a different channel. I'm talking about Jeff with Craft Computing. And then it will go, oh, right, Jeff with Craft Computing. You're right. I can't find any records of his last name or things like that. But it nailed my site. It nailed me as the presenter. It nailed my channel. It explained exactly what it was.
Just got your name wrong.
Just got my name wrong. It confused the two channels because to the AI there's no difference between Jeff and Jeff.
Or Jeff and other Jeff.
There's no differentiation between Jeff with no name and Jeff Geerling.
Yeah. Because they're both Jeff.
They're both Jeff. Yeah. Right.
But well, like I was saying about Felix, good friend of both of us.
Yeah.
He was working on reducing the needed precision for weather modeling for Environment Canada.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. Is there a place for reduced precision compute? Yes. is AI the best use of it in the way that we're seeing it, like in terms of like chatbots and LLMs? I'm not so convinced, honestly.
Yeah. And again, we've certainly seen good use cases for machine learning. I think, like AI at this point, when we're talking about the pie in the sky of general AI, which is an AI that has a conceptual understanding of everything.
Data.
Yeah.
We're not talking about data.
Right.
Data from Star Trek data.
Correct.
Not,
Not,
Just to make it clear.
Not data. Data.
Yeah.
The shareholders and Nvidia and AMD and literally anyone else who's involved with AI at this point is trying to sell the future of data from Star Trek, but what we have is a giant SQL database with XOR statements throughout it.
Yeah.
That is looking for patterns via essentially heat maps.
Yeah.
And then spitting out the data that it thinks is most correct.
Yeah.
Which is why it hallucinates, which is why you come up with random insertions into data or confusing Jeff and Jeffant or Jeff and other Jeff.
Yes.
It has no bearing for one of them is just Jeff.
What's funny was one time I asked ChatGPT, mind you, this was earlier in ChatGPT's life. I asked it for my name as the video YouTuber, and it came back with George Cheese. My last name is Kozma, not Cheese. Kozma. I don't think it does it anymore. But thank you. Are you changing it now?
No.
Are you changing my contact?
It was already in my phone.
That's amazing.
He is in my phone as George Cheese, just for the fun
yes.
of it. Little Tim Apple energy.
Yep. Yeah, I am now the Tim Apple of the tech tuber world.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
But again, for all the development and all the investment and all the liquid cooled manifold, tail whip, 2-man tail whip server racks that we've seen this week, the best thing that we can do with AI right now when it comes to generative or LLM is take your order at Taco Bell.
Yeah. And speaking of cooling things, do you want to go to the next?
Sure.
The next sort of thing that was shown off was, oh boy. So, well, if you want to dismiss the Tom's notification, because it sort of, if you want to dismiss the notification there at the top.
Oh, yep. Dismiss.
Yeah.
Go away.
There we go.
Yeah.
Would you like 600 kilowatt racks for in the future? Because that's what Nvidia is serving up to you.
Yep.
Or at least, in theory, serving up to you.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
George and Tim make a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
Good one, Jonathan. Good one.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I'm gonna start hitting some very heavy X to doubt here.
Yeah.
Jay, I'd be like, that's George. Yes.
Yeah. I always thought it was Cheese George.
Yeah. So.
Anyway, Nvidia is showing off that by 2027, we're going to be dealing with not tens of watts or thousands of watts or even tens of thousands of watts as most server rack installations currently are.
Yeah.
They are touting a 600,000 watt single 42U rack. Or is this a 57U? Is this a tall boy or a standard?
I think it's a tall boy.
It's a tall boy? Okay. 57U, still. Vertical height ain't nothing. It's all about square footage.
I think it's a 47 or 48.
48, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know rack sizes as well as you do, so I couldn't really tell.
42, 48, 57.
I think it was a 50. I think it was a 48.
48. Okay.
But still, regardless, my criticism is going to be the same, and that is, that's at least 10,000 watts a U.
Yeah.
No. So
It's 1,000 watts per U.
no.
Oh no, you're right.
Yeah,
it's 10,000
no,
watts per
it's
U.
over 10,000 watts a U.
Jeez.
It's yeah. So doing the math, and I don't know how you're cooling this without liquid ammonium.
You're not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're going back to the old cray system with the water. If you remember the falling liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do. Immersion, you're like 2 magnitudes off.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens when you get boil off? Yeah, that's what happens. It all turns to steam.
Yeah.
It will all just evaporate. And then liquid ammonium lets you do liquid helium things without actually needing to do liquid helium.
Right. It doesn't require the same pressure.
Yeah, but direct dye doesn't work.
Yep.
It honestly, I don't know how this is going to work. And what's funny is they don't show it. They show it a bit down, but you have the rack of servers here, and then you have your second essentially rack off on the side for all the cooling and for all of the networking and all that. Off to the right side in a pod, essentially in a side pod, and it's kind of insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sidecar is huge.
Yeah.
Like it's massive, and it's the same size as the rest of the system.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait until you have an entire data center with one of these.
Right.
Right. And like, yeah, 4 kilowatts is not quite enough, Captain K.
Yeah.
Like, so, okay. Now,
liquid might boil, creating an air gap, and that actually is
Yeah.
a massive issue. Even with liquid ammonia and things
Yeah.
like that, is you still have to pressurize it to a point where the Leidenfrost effect doesn't affect the cooler.
Exactly. And then, like, I don't see how this is really feasible.
Right.
Like this.
Well, you were worried about DGX Spark being cooled at 170
Yeah,
watts.
and then you have this monstrosity of just 600 kilowatts, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
So it's
the reason I bring this story up is, one, to gawk at the utter power that they're able to cram through silicon in the pursuit of AI supremacy, but also to bring up a point to this community, to my viewers, the community of home labbers. Home labbing it as we know it, that is people who love buying off-cast enterprise parts and installing server racks in their garage. It's going to be unattainable because there's no possible way any home in America or worldwide, regardless if you're on 220 or 110, has the infrastructure to run, power, and cool any server, any component within this rack. Not even the whole rack. A 1U.
Yeah, that still
1U at 10,000 watts plus 10,000 watts of infrastructure for cooling. We have 200 amp service to your home. That's half of your home's power, even in 3-phase.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
But make sure to turn your lights off because we're in a climate crisis. You're the problem.
Yeah,
not them.
Well, 600 kilowatt rack to replace a 16-year-old kid working at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
To quote the RC vlogger.
I think Matrix got it wrong. Humans don't produce that much heat.
No, we produce like 100 total.
Yeah, something like
that. Yeah. No, I don't see, like, I'm sorry, but 600 kilowatts is insane. I don't see how you, like, 10 of these is 6 megawatts. 100 of these is 60 megawatts. That's more power than Aurora.
Yeah.
That's more power than El Capitan.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a reason Microsoft is looking at spinning up multiple nuclear reactors.
And I don't even know if that's enough.
Right?
Like, yeah, the only person who could maybe do this is Yocto. And even then, that's stretching it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Yocto is, yeah. We're talking about you.
Yeah, we're talking about you.
Yeah. We're talking about how you're the only one who's going to be able to run HomeLab here in the next 5 years.
I don't even know if I can anymore. I'm going to have to bring in like 400 amp.
I would say you do have 400 amp service to your data center right now.
Yeah, his garage.
In his garage.
I'm going to have to go through the megawatts here for my local UV.
Yeah, he's got 200 to his house and 400 to his garage for his data center. And he won't be able to run half of one of these racks.
Yeah. Just to the garage, not to the rest of the house.
I'm not as crazy as people assume.
No, Jay,
I'm quite reasonable.
Jay, no, that's not even funny as a joke. I would not trust Zeus with a watt, let alone 600 kilowatts.
Don't worry, Zeus will wire it up for you.
No.
Zeus says he'll be diverting 200 amps of his house's electricity and combining it with his F-150 Lightning.
No.
Zeus, my fear is you're going to end up with one of those suicide cables from your truck.
That was, he doesn't already have one.
I'm shocked he doesn't.
Like, and then what? Okay, so Captain K says 1 gigawatt AI factories are coming. Yeah, I'm sorry, but no. Like,
they're coming.
Like, the infrastructure just can't support it. It's already creaking.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What's next? What's my next drink? You want another IPA? You want another?
I'm good. I'm good sticking here.
You're good.
Right
okay. Oh yeah.
Like, I still have most of mine.
Wow.
I'm not trying to go drink for you.
All right. You take it easy, my friend.
Like, I just don't see it. Like,
yeah.
I honestly think the infrastructure grid is going to croak, or like, I don't know, like, and then the whole idea of like sovereign AI, where individual countries have their own AI data centers for their own.
Yeah.
Like, what company, like, what countries could even support a whole gigawatt AI factory and the associated, like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what semi-analysis says. I don't care. I don't care what semi-analysis says. No. John Jay, please, no.
What's John Jay say? Zeus could team up with Cosworth and run the entire server off 12-volt power inverter plugged into a grid line.
You're gonna make me want to jump into that creek, that pool, like,
yeah. We got a little pond behind it. It's beautiful here. It really is.
And not come out again. Jeez.
That's funny.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
Powered AI factory.
Anyway, I mean, back to, the issue at hand, which is us, which is the average home labber, that kind of thing. Can I get the Kolsch? Perfect. There you go. Thank you so much. So yeah, back to us as home labbers. One of our favorite pastimes is taking off-cast enterprise equipment and repurposing it, giving it second life. to serve our daily needs, private clouds, media hosting, even AI workloads, even virtualized gaming, even, you know, even just storage. There's going to be a point at which that becomes impossible.
Yeah.
The direction that we're heading. Because we're talking about having to invent new power and cooling standards.
Yeah.
To support this, even at an infrastructure and data center scale.
Yeah.
We were seeing today 4U and 6U chassis that had a pair of Granite Rapids CPUs in them, which, mind
Granite
you,
Ridge?
yeah, Granite Ridge. If you're him,
For the Ridge line.
do I need to pull the flash card back up? Pair of 6900P Granite Rapids 128 core CPUs, which I talked about last week. When I tried to benchmark that system at home, it killed my home lab with dual 20 amp circuits. It tripped it, it overvolted my UPS, and it shut everything down. And that's 2 modern data center CPUs. Cutting edge, but 2 CPUs. I pulled just a couple of years ago like 6 dual CPU Broadwell and Haswell servers out of my rack that I was running daily to run all my services, and I consolidated all that down to a 64-core EPYC. And then I tried doing that basically with 3 or 4 year newer technology, and I killed the power circuit. And we're now talking about individual GPUs or individual workstation boards with the DGX Station.
Yeah, pulling.
The DGX Station is going to need 20 amps by itself, and that's for 1 GPU and 1 CPU.
Yeah.
And the Blackwell Pro cards that were announced today.
300, 600 watt version.
Yeah, there's a Max Q, and there's a 600 watt version, which is basically the 5090 on steroids, with 96 gigs of memory. That card by itself draws 600 watts. That's a third of your power limit right there just in the GPU. I mean, obviously it was for gaming systems anyway, but each of my Granite Rapids CPUs were like 600 watts at full tilt. I pulled 1200 plus watts just on the CPUs, let alone the 24 DIMMs and multiple NVMEs and networking. I had 100 gig networking installed into it.
That whole server is probably pulling from the wall about 2K.
Yeah, it
total.
was between 17 and 2. I bet it was.
Yeah.
And that's just what's out.
And that's just your little humble home lab.
And that's just my little humble home lab. Yeah.
I'm waiting for you and Yakto to appear at my house with a 42U rack and just go, "This is yours now."
This is your problem.
And it's all just fully populated.
I'm just gonna plug this in your garage. Yeah. Show up with a forklift.
But
no, what we need is one of the what is it? The Amazon snowblowers.
You mean the RVs?
Yeah, the semi trailers, the container trucks.
Yeah, that's
the container trucks that are basically S3 object storage.
Yakta, what are the semi trucks that are object
the
storage
Amazon
S3?
Snowmobile. Yeah. Yeah, the AWS snowmobiles. They are container trucks which are data center on the go. You plug in 3-phase power and data to them, and they are a unique S3 object at the AWS level. I had the Kolsch. Excellent. Thanks so much. So this is the Sunnyside Kolsch, again from Laughing Monk Brewing. Ooh, that's sweet. Very sweet. That's a darn good Kolsch. Yeah, Amazon snowmobiles.
After.
Yeah, it's good. 5% too. Nice little light.
So far, I've just been following your lead.
Yeah.
Beers.
Totally. But yeah, we're just gonna show up, drop a container in front of your house, and say,
"This is your problem."
Yeah,
now.
Call your power company, get 3-phase delivered to it, and Do you have fiber? I'm sure gigabit is fine.
I do have 5. I can get 5 or 7 gigabit.
Oh, that's not fair.
Up and down.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah, so
I finally got Comcast to give me 2 gig by 250. So
yeah, no, it would be symmetrical.
yeah.
From Frontier.
Yep.
So
there's no fiber in my neighborhood. The entire division of my city is all underground utility, and it's good enough, so they're not going to upgrade it.
Got it.
So yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is we've had like fiber since I want to say like 2015 at my house, 2016.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zeus, I can get 7 gig symmetrical. They're playing on 10 and then I think into the 25.
Yeah.
If I went for business, I think I can get 25 now.
Yeah.
If I went for business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to pay. What is that, like $1,000 a month?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It'd be way higher than that for business
Because
class
it's business.
service.
Yeah. Because of all the
you'd be at
SLAs
$5,000 a
and
month.
that.
Yeah,
Oof.
you'd be at $5,000 a month.
Yeah, that's
business
like,
service comes with 4 nines.
Yeah, that's more than the mortgage on the house.
Yeah.
Like,
you think you can pull a Zeus in the other way and swing a neighborhood ISP? I have thought about that multiple times, actually. I've thought about forming a small municipal ISP. I thought about that in my old house over 5 years ago because there was a fiber company in my town, but they only did business class fiber. And I said, sling me a line and I will hook up everyone else downstream. Like, I will figure that out.
Yeah.
And the most insulting thing ever was we posted our house for sale. And the week that I was emptying my office, we had emptied the rest of the house. We had already moved out. I was emptying my office. The office was the last thing left so I could shoot a couple of videos. The week I was in my office shooting those last couple of videos, they were trenching fiber in my front yard.
ha. Yeah.
I never got it, but by the time I moved out, they had replanted my grass, and or by the time I had sold the house, they had replanted the grass, and we had fiber at that location. So I think
you're very salty over that.
I'm very yeah. You can get 5 gig at that address now. I've looked it up.
Yeah. So
I lived there 10 years. I emailed them every 3 months,
ha.
and I said, please get me fiber. And finally, after we had listed the house, they said, oh, by the way, there's fiber in your neighborhood.
And you went, to heck with you.
Yeah. And I moved to Comcast.
Oof. That's a double whammy.
Which means I will never get fiber.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a fiber curse? You have no idea the fiber issues I've dealt with.
Yeah.
One of my favorites was my work site. We got an alert for one of our remote offices, and we called the fiber provider. We owned the majority of the fiber, but they had routers along the route, and they were serving as repeater points for us. And I called them when one of our offices went down, and they said, yeah, we just lost both your site and one of the intermediary routers, so we're guessing there's a fiber break somewhere. And I said, okay, tell you what, I'm going to start driving your way along the fiber route. You drive my way. We'll wait in the middle. We'll find it. And they said, all right, that sounds good. So I started driving. 20 minutes later, I come across the road, and there's freshly paved asphalt in this little patch. And I stopped there. And the tech from the fiber company pulled up like a minute later, and he goes, yeah, I saw this too. I'm betting this is where it's at. What had happened was the Great North American Fiber Finder, otherwise known as a backhoe, dug into the ground, ripped up our conduit and our fiber, and went, oh crap, that's probably important. Put it back down, patted it down with the bucket, and then they paved over it.
That's yeah. Gotta love backhoes.
So,
I'm not a small.
yeah.
So yeah, actually, something else I kind of want to, I guess, complain about here
Sure.
is the relabeling of what the NVL numbers.
Yeah.
So okay, previously
So let's say NV Link.
So previously, when you said Blackwell NVL 72,
Yeah.
what that meant was 72 Blackwell packages.
Yes.
And I'm being very specific here. So that's the two dies put together with the 8 HBM stacks.
Yeah.
All together.
Yeah.
Now with Rubin, what the NVL
let's back up.
number.
Let's back up because we never addressed Rubin.
Yeah.
Rubin was announced as the next generation to proceed Blackwell. And this is actually where Nvidia's prediction of 600 kilowatt racks comes from.
Yep.
Because of Rubin.
Yep.
So
more specifically because of Rubin Ultra.
Yeah.
Which
so there we go. We skipped a couple of steps, but
yeah,
but I think we're all caught up.
Let me see if I can go pull up the images for Rubin and Rubin Ultra.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Trying to find it. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, assume it never takes it. Yeah. Because what that means is that for all loops, you'll actually be accurate.
All right, we found it.
Okay. So here's Rubin, and here's Rubin Ultra. Okay. So.
Go.
Starting tonight with the 9.1 and trying to work on hardware at the same time may have not been the best idea. Yeah, no, Vince, it probably wasn't. But you know what? Decisions were made, and decisions have to be
That's right.
done.
Yeah.
So stuff has to get done. So
how do you think I got this stylish scar on my arm? That's from drinking a couple of beers and working with a soldering iron.
Always a good idea.
Yeah.
So
you ever hear flesh sizzle?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Ow.
So if you want to pull up the Rubin slide here.
Yes. There we go.
So here is Vera Rubin. Now Vera Rubin was a astronomer, actually a famous astronomer.
Yeah.
But in this context, starting with the Vera CPU, what's really interesting here is that it's a successor to Grace, and it has 88 custom ARM cores from Nvidia, which have SMT2.
Yes.
So this has what is more commonly known as hyper-threading.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has 2 threads per core, which is actually really interesting. But it makes sense when you think of Vera and Grace, for that matter, as essentially being memory expanders for Rubin and Blackwell, respectively, and Hopper.
Yes.
But yeah, it's interesting in that they essentially what this allows them to do is run more data loaders. It allows them to run more parallel threads of moving data into and out of the GPU and into and out of the network.
Yeah.
So it's honestly not that surprising to me. They're doubling the NVLink C2C speed to 1.8 terabytes per second.
Yep.
Now this is 900 in each direction.
Yeah.
So and that's being connected up to a Rubin GPU, which Nvidia is saying is 2 reticle-sized GPUs that has a total of 288 gigabytes of HBM4. If this is actually, by that logic, Blackwell is 2 reticle-sized GPUs. I don't like this relabeling.
Yeah.
This should be 72 because by this very logic, a 8-node single server of MI300X is 64 GPUs, and nobody would ever say that.
Yeah. Well, AMD would have 10 years ago.
True, because if you remember the APUs,
Bulldozer.
yeah. Well, no. The APUs where they said like 10 cores, but 4 of them were CPU, and then there's 6C,
Yeah.
which was
their 6 compute unit of APU.
Which was
absurd.
Bollocks.
Yeah.
Like back then, to say that this is no, this is 72, and to move on to the bigger system, and the NVL 576.
Yeah.
Again, so Rubin Ultra is 2 Rubins stuck together essentially.
Yeah.
So for a total, what they say is 4 GPUs. Yeah, there's 144 Rubins in here, not 576.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that's
They're basically taking each of the compute sectors of the die and counting that as a full GPU. And in their defense, each of those GPU sectors doesn't individually manage the memory within that
it
sector?
should be all striped.
Is it all striped?
It should be all striped.
Okay.
If it's not all striped, then okay, I would agree with this, but then then this is not 1 GPU. This is MI250X, which, if you remember, was essentially 2 GPUs on the same package, but they didn't have any communication.
Right.
If that's what this is, then yes, they are correct. But then no, why are you talking about this as a whole unit in terms of its spec sheet? That's just wrong. Like, then you need to break it up. Like, oh, Jeff is here. Hello, Jeff Geerling, aka Other Jeff, aka Jeffant.
We were coming up with new nicknames for you earlier in the chat.
So,
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't like this renaming.
Naming, numbering aside.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind internal names being like NVL 576.
Yeah, sure.
I don't mind that as a name. If they're talking about, I mean, that's naming an RTX 590 after the number of ROPs that it has, essentially, is what they're doing. Plus or minus 8.
No, just minus 8, not plus 8, just minus 8.
Just minus 8. I don't necessarily mind that from a product standpoint. I mean, we're not going to call the RTX 5090 the 20,780 CUDA core, but you know, why not call it the RTX 96 or the NVL 96? Because it's essentially the same architecture.
Yeah. It's frustrating. And oh, Jeff, if you're at GTC, they're selling 5080s and 5090s at the gear store. That so if you want a 5090 or a 5080, you have to be here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, says he'd love it if Nvidia started shipping some consumer GPUs again, as would all of us, honestly. They do have a small subset of GPUs that they are releasing here at GTC, so you can purchase one. I think I know at least 2 or 3 people who are going to be buying one.
At least 2.
At least 2. Also, as part of the keynote, they also said, hey, good news, Blackwell is in full production now. So it really was a paper launch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very weird.
Yeah.
I want to do a little bit of math here. So if you want to, I'm doing some quick math over here.
All right.
What's that?
Nvidia's busy in the kitchen. Where's my RTX 5050? You already had it. It's called the RTX 3050. because Nvidia is not going to allocate that small of silicon to a GPU possibly ever again. If my hunch is correct, because let's just look at Nvidia just launched the RTX 6000 Blackwell, the RTX 6000 Blackwell Pro, and the RTX 6000 Max Q. Those are basically full uncut RTX 5090s with about 3,000 more CUDA cores, 24,000 versus 21.5, roughly, and 3 times the video memory at 96 gigs versus, 96 versus 32. These cards are going to sell for $10,000 a piece. Do you know what they sell the 5090 for? $2,000.
Exactly.
And regardless of what you can find the 5090 at retail for, the 5090 is a $2,000 card. Any other markup beyond that is dealer markup, not OEM markup, and that's kind of a difference. You know what Nvidia would rather sell the same GPU die for instead of $2,000? $10,000. Do you know what every RTX 5050 or 3050 takes away from? Making bigger dies that they can sell for more money. It's because gaming is not the priority anymore, and that's what happens when you, as a gaming industry, or as a gaming division of the company, bring in $30 billion, and your AI portion of the business brings in $300 billion. It's simple. It's simple math at that point, and that sucks from a gaming perspective.
Yeah. So, Captain K, you say nothing's coming close to what Nvidia's cooking up. So, I just ran some numbers for the reported numbers of MI355X. That's the CDNA 4, which is coming out literally in this half of this year. This is Rubin Ultra's not coming until second half of 2027. And if this was actually 578 GPUs, which if we're going to go with NVIDIA's numbers, and you know what, I'm going to say 576 MI 55Xs, the 355Xs. Yeah, it gets about half that performance, but you can get it this year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Because by the time this is out, the next generation is going to be out. So I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say that this isn't impressive. It's very interesting, but do I think that there will be products that match it by that point in time? Probably.
Yeah.
Do
you want to talk about who else we saw today, or can we talk about any of that?
We can talk about both.
Can we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's pull. I'll pull up the slides.
Yeah. So.
Because we talked about. So Ian and I talked about both on the tech routine.
Okay.
So.
We're going to start talking about now, and this is simply because I got 40 minutes left to show, and we're kind of out of
Nvidia
GTC news.
But actually, real quick before we move here, Jeff, before you go, Ampere was bought by SoftBank.
Oh yes.
For $6.5 billion.
By the way, yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Good for Ampere.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
that's an 8x leap. So they raised about $800 million. They got bought out for $800 million. They got bought out for $6.5 billion.
Yeah.
Which is a really good exit for a startup.
Yes.
That's an 8x exit. That's really, really good.
It's what you hope for. So Ampere is they make the 128 core ARM CPUs. Jeff Geerling, you featured them on the channel a number of times, and really impressive hardware. Really cool startup. I've actually been to their headquarters. I helped Ian with interviewing their CEO last year.
It was funny because he DM'd me and he's like, SoftBank just bought Ampere for $6.5 billion.
Oh wait! No. So, George stepped away from our table at dinner for a minute, and then he came back and he goes, "Oh my God, Ampere just got bought by SoftBank." And I went, "Holy crap!" And then I kind of thought for 2 seconds, and I went, we're 15 minutes away from Ampere. If you want, George, before the podcast, we can drive over and do a video in front of their headquarters. I know where they're at. We can get there in 10 minutes. And we can shoot a 20-minute video and talk about, you know, what this means or good for Ampere or whatever else and whatnot. And George simply flips his phone around to me. And he goes, "This is what Ian just posted."
That's Ampere headquarters.
Ian goes, "This is me right now.
Right now.
Shooting a video about Ampere." And I'm like, son of a... Of course, Ian is a half step ahead of me, as always.
It's not a very good image. Like, my phone's not showing it very well. But yeah, that's the Ampere.
That's the Ampere building.
Yeah.
2 miles from us right now.
Yeah.
It's right over there.
Yeah. So if it wasn't almost at night, I would say let's go. But
right.
It's starting to get dark. And
yeah, we almost made a detour before we came here and shot a video in front of Ampere. It's like, oh, Ian's already there. Well, screw it.
Like, dang it, he beat us to it. But yeah, so it's now.
This is as close as I've ever been to a breaking story, and he still beats me from the other side of the pond. You know how irritating that is?
Well, it's funny because we had so the last tech wiki went for 4 hours.
Yeah,
I never want to do that again.
Oh, that's right, because they broke the Intel CEO story in the middle of your show.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, broke. We were about to end.
Yeah.
Ian got an email from Intel about it, and we were like, breaking news. We have to cut to it. But yeah, now in chat, Jonathan brings up a good question. How will the Ampere acquisition affect chip makers like Qualcomm, considering SoftBank owns ARM?
ARM, correct.
It's a very good question.
We can even double this back into Nvidia's foray into APUs and APU type systems with digits, with Station, with everything else. ARM for the longest time has been a chip development firm that has developed the cores, developed their IP, and then licensed that out for use by anyone who wants to make an ARM processor.
Yeah.
Whether it's Nvidia, whether it's MediaTek, whether it's whoever.
Or Google and Microsoft and AWS. Right.
Or Ampere.
Or Ampere.
And so, but Nvidia tried to purchase ARM a couple of years ago. And they failed regulatory approval in multiple jurisdictions, and so the sale didn't go through. And so Nvidia had to write ARM a $1 billion check for a failed business contract.
Yeah.
But the writing was kind of on the wall that Nvidia wanted to get into that business because why else would they be buying ARM other than to make compute alongside GPU?
Yeah.
ARM, on the other hand, has been highly considering, and I think this has been public for at least a couple of years now, highly considering directly making chips themselves in direct competition with the people that they license their chip hardware to, their chip IP to. And what does that mean kind of in a bubble? Well, you end up with an Nvidia situation where Nvidia's making GPUs and directly competing with the people who they license and sell GPUs through in hardware partners.
Yeah.
What this means for Qualcomm and Broadcom and MediaTek and
actually, really the poignant question is, what does this mean for Nvidia, and what does this mean for AWS? And I bring those two up because AWS, actually let's do Nvidia first. Nvidia is developing their own ARM cores now, right? In their own server CPU, which they're likely going to plan on selling to folks as an independent CPU.
Yep.
Now, Grace has a version of it called the Grace C1, which apparently Google Cloud uses in for like edge deployments because they don't want to put their own silicon out there.
Yeah.
So they are essentially buying Grace from Nvidia and deploying those instead. Well, what does that mean for that? Like, what does that mean for like GCP, like, are they going to need to buy Nvidia CPUs anymore? Are they just going to buy CPUs from ARM, considering that they already buy an IP block from ARM themselves?
Right. Is ARM going to continue licensing, or are they simply going to go and manufacture their own CPUs?
Yeah.
That's another huge question. I think you're missing the elephant in the room too. What does this mean for Apple?
Well, Apple's not making server CPUs.
Apple's making ARM CPUs.
Yes, but not server CPUs, and they're their own captive market.
Right.
So I don't think.
But they're still directly licensing ARM IP.
Yes, but well, they're doing their own architecture, like they have
Correct.
an architecture license.
Correct.
I don't know what they're actually buying in from ARM.
Right.
Other than just the ISA. Also, Captain K, Axion is just Neoverse V2.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like, yes, they are making their own CPUs, but they're just buying a subsystem.
Yeah,
from ARM.
there's Nexium, there's Graviton, there's...
Well, no, there's the CSS, the compute subsystem, which is literally a design chip that Microsoft has bought for the N1.
Mm-hmm.
So they're I can't remember what it's called. Cobalt. It's essentially an N1 CSS.
Yeah.
Google bought the V2 CSS. The one who hasn't done with Graviton, their own thing.
Yeah.
Did we lose audio?
No.
Audio's fine?
Audio's fine. I'm looking at the meter right now.
Okay. Okay, cool. But the one who isn't doing CSS
it's time to add some light.
Is
oh no, my light's dead. What the heck?
AWS.
What the heck? Keep talking.
But yeah, so and I wonder what that means for them. That's actually the one that I have the biggest question marks for is AWS. So it's odd to put it. Yeah. Does this mean that the subsystem will die and you'll just have to buy chips from ARM? I don't know. Potentially, but potentially they'll just keep the compute subsystem. Whoa, that's quite bright.
I'm working on it.
There we go. That's a lot better. Okay. So it's
there we go. Sorry, we're starting to get a little fuzzy. There we go.
Yeah. It's yeah, I don't. We kind of 2 years.
Yeah.
And see what happens with Graviton 5, Graviton 6, and then the rest of the lineup from AWS, Google, Microsoft, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, Ampere being bought by ARM, or by SoftBank, which is ARM's parent company.
Yep.
Is definitely an interesting move. And like I said, we knew ARM had aspirations of becoming a chip maker themselves, not just a chip design house.
Yes.
This is obviously a move in that direction. What does that mean? Very, very long term with ARM's partners. And a lot of that is going to remain to be seen.
Yeah. Now, jumping back into what we were going to talk about before I brought this topic up.
Yeah.
So you and I met with Bolt.
Bolt. For those who don't know, Bolt made a bit of a splash about a month ago. This has been a project that's been multiple months, and there's been some literature passed around. But they produced a video basically doing a soft announcement of a 100% path traced graphics card.
Yeah.
They are focusing entirely on path tracing. there is a rasterization engine in it, but it's not a graphics card as we know it today. It's not hybrid rendering. It's not rasterizing a bunch of polygons and then shooting light at it. It is using the ray tracing itself, the path tracing itself, to draw the polygons or to draw the image on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a much more accurate way of rendering images, and kind of the pie in the sky that we've wanted to hit forever. I mean, this is how Toy Story is rendered, which is why Toy Story famously took, what was it, 300 days to render on data centers of the day, running 24/7 on stacks of servers at the time. You know, multiple hours to render single frames in some instances. And Toy Story holds up today graphically, and there's a reason for that. It's because path tracing is freaking amazing. Nvidia, AMD, Intel, anyone involved in graphics right now, they know path tracing is the way forward, but we've developed a rasterization engine that we've been using for the last 30 years with standardized APIs and standardized methods of drawing polygons in a 3D space. And then the path tracing we have today on those architectures is, like I said, hybrid.
Yes.
It is rasterization first and path tracing second. Path tracing focusing only on the lighting effects within those polygons, not the light interacting directly with the polygons, or not the light directly drawing those objects. Bolt is aiming to be a fully path traced graphics engine, and the results could be absolutely incredible if this pans out. So there's your intro.
And that's, I'm gonna give that statement the big F.
It's definitely a big if. I'm simply giving the intro of what their vision of this is.
So,
but we met with them today.
Yes. Some of my not fears, but like considerations for this were partly assuaged, but not all of it.
Oh, totally.
I have a lot of massive questions.
Well, let's start with this. Because going in, and I saw the video the same as you, the launch video. You've had a couple email conversations with them, but we see a lot of different tech startups, a lot of different Silicon Valley. We're changing the world one piece of hardware at a time.
Yeah.
We see this kind of thing all the time. And
it's a dime a dozen, so to speak.
Right. We have a great idea of how we're going to change the world. Oh crap! It turns out it's a lot harder than we thought to change the world, and what we wanted to do is impossible.
Yeah.
We see that all the time. The launch video kind of had a lot of air of, I've seen this song and dance before, if I'm being honest.
Oh no, it
so. You know, they gave out numbers like 300 times faster at FP64 calculation than MI300.
Well, it was specifically faster in EM simulations.
Right. And then they're touting, what was it, 2.5 to 3x faster path tracing performance in an RTX 5090.
Well, I have the slide deck here. Let's go. Let's scroll up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have the slide deck pulled up, so let me see if I can pull it down.
Yeah, so I'll send it to you. Actually, you know what? I'll just send you the slides that...
I have the Serve the Home article up, and he has some of the slides up there, so maybe we can go through a few of those.
Yeah. Here's the rendering slide.
Okay, I've got that pulled up. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Oh, hold on. Looked it up in the wrong browser. Stand by. One more back. Where's my mouse? There it is. All right, we're there. We're there. There's the render.
Yep.
And there it is full. All right. We got there.
Cool. So Yeah, they're claiming on their one chip. So this system, the Zeus architecture, can scale up to 4 chiplets. They're saying that their one chiplet version has 2.5 times the performance of a 5090.
Yeah.
And
One chiplet has 2.5 times.
One chiplet. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, yeah. Japanese music.
I don't know that that's unreasonable. And I'm not saying I'm a believer. I'm not saying I buy in, but I'm a little bit more positive. I'm 60% positive, whereas you're
I'm like
you're 20% negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is actually a great conversation to have between us, because I think we're the perfect mix of skepticism and enthusiasm that kind of needs to look at this.
Now, let me preface all of what I'm about to say
Sure.
with, I hope these come out to be real. Like, I hope that these numbers are truthful.
Yeah.
But I've seen similar numbers put up before, and I'm going to take a very skeptical position until I can physically hold it in my hands.
Yes.
And I can test it, and I can run stuff on it and verify claims.
So, yeah. Just taking this slide right here.
Yeah.
Bomir, I'll ask someone who works there here momentarily. How's that?
Yeah.
Not on stream, but
yeah.
Anyway, speaking directly to these claims of rendering performance improvements, we're obviously talking about native path tracing, because that's the only thing that this does.
Yeah.
2.5x improvement on a single chiplet, up to 10x on a single unified core.
On a 4 chiplet system.
Yeah, on a 4 chiplet unified substrate.
Also, I will say they do have a raster engine.
Yeah.
But that's not primarily what this is for.
And,
like, they have TMUs, they have ROPs,
Yeah.
or texture mapping units, and render output pipelines. They do have those.
Yeah.
But this is really more about the ray tracing core.
Yes.
So,
what they showed us, can we talk about the demo hardware that they had?
yes.
Okay,
cool.
So, they didn't have physical silicon there for us to physically hold.
Yeah.
What they did have was their cores, basically a core engine written for an FPGA.
Yep.
With their architectural design, which was a single, if you think of a rendering engine, a single ROP, a single piece of silicon and memory that can do some form of processing. They had a single of essentially their ray tracing cores programmed into an FPGA. It was slower than crap.
Well, that's because the FPGA was... Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's an FPGA.
It's an FPGA.
So you don't expect it to run at even... so most FPGAs will run around, at best, 600 megahertz.
Yeah.
500 to 600.
Yeah. This one, because of the complexity of the circuit, is running at 100 megahertz. Pentium 1 levels of performance. As they set out, as they said
of
themselves.
clock speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But running their algorithm and their bespoke hardware design, it was able to ray trace a scene. I won't say shockingly fast, but really, really fast
for what it was.
For what it was. If we go back to the Toy Story analogy of rendering Toy Story, where it would take a stack of servers hours to render a single frame of Toy Story, we watched this 100 megahertz FPGA render a single frame in about 3 minutes. Is that about right?
It was... Was it 3 minutes?
It was about 3 minutes to my... From hitting start, and we get a white screen because it has to fire up the FPGA and program everything and whatnot. From the moment we got the first pass,
the FPGA is already programmed. It just had to issue all the instructions.
Exactly.
So you have to do all the warm up stuff.
Right. But about 3 minutes later, we got a much better looking path traced frame than the RTX 5090 beside it was putting out.
I wonder, like, if there may have been like different options selected potentially, or like, because if you notice the 5080, sorry, the it wasn't 5080. I don't exactly remember what card.
A 4090. It was a 4090. Excuse me.
Was it 40?
It was a 4090.
4080.
It was a 4090.
Okay.
I do remember that.
Okay. Was actually rendering it in like it was doing. If you notice, there was an FPS counter.
Yeah, yeah. It was running at 100 FPS.
Yeah. So whereas the bolt image was a static image.
Yeah.
So it is a different workload.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't extrapolate image quality based on the two images side by side.
I would because of the path traced resolution, the number of rays that they were actually rendering. It was visible from multiple feet away from a monitor.
Sure, but the test is different. So what are you? So what is the RTX card? Like if it was rendered as a static image, would it have looked the same as the bolt image?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Potentially yes, potentially no.
We would need to double back and ask them. Maybe we ask them in a follow-up email.
Yeah.
Because you have so much memory, and actually it doesn't really come down to memory on the RTX 4090. It's going to come down to the processing power of the RT cores.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of RT cores.
Vince, it wasn't Toy Story. It was a static image being rendered. So
yeah.
Actually, I think they said it was. I remember 23 seconds. That's what they
first pass.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, remember it did like 4 passes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna step away for like 2 minutes here.
Again, run.
I gotta run.
Okay.
I will be right back.
Okay. So now
I will go full screen soon. There we go.
Okay. So yeah, Brian says in the chat, the fact that they don't have any pilot/partner designs prior to a public announcement is clear sign of vaporware. They do have partners. Essentially what myself and someone else from GTCs were able to extrapolate via using Google is that the slide isn't up right now, but their architecture is they have one compute chiplet and then an I/O chiplet. And the I/O chiplet is actually from Alphawave. It's from a IP vendor that already exists. The new stuff is actually in the compute chiplet itself. And sorry, been talking about a lot. So it's part of it is designed by no, not a pilot customer. I don't know how Jeff does his setup, so I won't touch it right now for fear of breaking it. They have a compute chiplet and then an I/O chiplet. The I/O chiplet is sourced from another company, not a pilot customer. They are approaching folks, but yeah, they and then the compute chiplet itself has up to 64 of these RT cores and 32 RISC-V out-of-order cores that essentially are the scheduler and the delegation for the many, many accelerators that they have on board the chip. And yeah, it's. I'm gonna have to read through the serve the home article to make sure that I don't say anything that hasn't already been said, or I have to make sure that I don't put my foot in my mouth, so to speak. So let me check real quick. There we go. Let me not put my foot in my mouth, because that would just end well. That would be a great end to the night. And Jeff's back.
I'm back. I remember to take the microphone off.
Yeah, nice. So,
where are we at?
If you could pull up the architecture slide from the SCH article, it's
yes.
on page 2. If you could pull up the yeah. So down one. That one.
That guy.
Yeah. So Brian, that IO chiplet is actually made by AlphaWave.
Yes.
And the Zeus chiplet is made by themselves. Yeah. So again, I have reservations here, especially about the memory subsystem.
Yeah, we actually talked a little bit before the show about the. Yeah, Jeff did not pull a Leslie Nielsen. That's right. All you'd hear is yeah, we talked a little bit about the memory, and we actually asked them directly, are there going to be memory limitations within this architecture? Because you're using LPDDR5X, LPDDR5. You're obviously giving up bandwidth in this circumstance. Is there there's 192 gigs in their Zeus 1 core model. So you could essentially put 1.2 terabytes of memory onto a card based on what they're doing here. So tons and tons of GPU memory. But if it's LPDDR5, if it's DDR5, you're going to be limited in bandwidth no matter what you're doing. And they said, we may run into circumstances or algorithms or rendering scenes where we do hit a bandwidth limitation. But the thing, if they went with GDDR7 or GDDR6X, they can't get the memory and the quantities that they need to be able to produce the product. And so in this circumstance, it might be better to have a slightly GPU limited or a slightly memory bandwidth limited product in 15% of scenarios that you could throw at it, than only make 20,000 cards versus 300,000 cards, because that's all the product could supply.
Yeah.
And as someone who's developing products right now, we made choices that are very similar to this on resistor values, on things like that, because we were looking at some products or some components for OpenViro sensors that would have been a better option for us, or maybe a lower BOM cost or things like that, but they had quantities of 700 available. And it's like, well, if you can't offer 20,000, I'm not going to be able to scale with this.
Yeah, now, okay, so what we haven't talked about is the timeline, which is in the Serve the Home article, and they're planning on essentially, yeah, we're passing all the specs. We'll get back to it, but if you go to the availability, it's availability starting, essentially, you'll be able to buy something in Q4 2026.
Yeah, a developer kit of some kind. That is actual pressed silicon, an actual ASIC that functions, that you can run or start developing their software on.
Yep.
Right now they have a working FPGA model, and they've already pressed certain pieces of the die to verify connectivity, algorithm, etc.
So
they're going to have a fully functioning piece of silicon in some form by the end of this year. Presumably.
they'll have, I believe they said, yeah, late this year, early next year.
Yeah.
If you're going to be trying to hit this target, that's what you need.
Yeah.
So I think it's an aggressive timeline.
Oh, certainly.
And I asked if they have any spare room for a respin, because it's incredibly rare that silicon works first time out of the fab.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes you need essentially a respin. These are so if you've heard of like A0 silicon, A1 silicon,
yeah,
or B0 silicon, A0 is the first silicon out of the fab that works.
Right.
Well, it doesn't always have to work. It's just the first silicon out of the fab. And it's oftentimes you need an A1 or even a B0 or B1 in order to get full functionality. Now, excuse me. What those numbers in letters mean is what's known as a metal spin will get you from A0 to A1. That's a metal respin.
Yeah.
From A0 to B0 is a base layer respin. Now, base layer respins are more complicated than a metal layer respin.
Yeah.
And I asked, and they've essentially put in enough time to have a metal layer respin, but not a base layer respin.
Mm-hmm.
So if they run into an issue at the base layer, they may be delayed.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't, but it could potentially happen.
Yeah.
And what was running on the FPGA was just an RT core, a single one.
A single RT core.
That's it.
Yeah. A couple of questions here, and I think they're both good ones. We'll get into specs, and I think we'll start with networking specs here in just a second.
Yeah.
Because there's some interesting implications of their networking implementation that I think are worth exploring. But Brian says, so Bolt had their seed round in July 2024, which means they should be about out of money in the next 3 months. I get a weird feeling this is more an investor pitch. Again, we see a lot of Silicon Valley startups. This didn't feel like a company that was simply blowing smoke out their ass and looking for a payday. I didn't get that vibe. And I'm usually good at that vibe.
Yeah.
And I think as hesitant as you are, you didn't get that vibe either.
Which is why I'm so hesitant, because I'm not getting that vibe.
I'm not seeing a red flag, which means I'm missing a massive red flag, right?
Yeah. There's almost always a ball being hidden somewhere, and I'm trying to find where that is.
Yeah.
And so to get back to the networking.
Yeah. So starting with the specs, the one that actually caught our eye first, outside of the ray tracing, outside of the 1.2 terabytes of video memory, was actually the interconnect, their core-to-core interconnect, and the QSFP port on the rear of the card, which has integrated 400 gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah. So this alone is just a standalone NIC.
These are
and nothing else.
These are, at their heart, RISC-V cores with added architecture.
Yes.
Which means you can simply run the NIC as a NIC, and it might be the most affordable 400 gig NIC that the world has ever seen.
Depending on the price, yeah.
On top of also doing ray tracing.
Yeah. So, Wolf Nedrid in chat says, the base layer fab issues may be less likely due to much better simulations available now by Fab Design Labs, and they were also looking at process nodes that were already well known. Yeah. I'm going to disagree with that.
Really?
So look at, I brought you this example, Zen 4 from AMD. CCD was a B1 stepping, I believe.
Yeah.
That means that they had a base layer restep and a metal layer restep.
Yeah.
Zen 5, which is on essentially the same node, was A1.
Yeah.
So even a company like AMD can need multiple respins.
Yeah, can need multiple validation runs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
And yes, sims are great, but they can't tell you quite everything.
Right.
You sometimes your sim can't figure out that maybe there's a critical wire somewhere that's reducing your clock speed by like 200 megahertz.
Yeah.
And if your chip is only going up to say 1 gigahertz, that's a 20% performance loss right there.
Yeah.
So yes, sims are good and are used a lot, but that does not tell you everything.
Correct.
And especially because this is their first chip, like their first full product chip.
Yeah.
My gut is saying they may need a base layer respin.
But here's the deal, and to play devil's advocate for not including in your timeline a base and a metal respin, both. I would rather see a silicon startup that is working on investor cash and needs to produce a product eventually. Simply put out a product. Get to a point where you can put out a product. Because everything's great in theory, but if a theory is all it remains because you run out of cash, then what did you start the business for?
Yeah.
And so there has to be a time in your timeline when you say, we will sell a product here or we will sell. We will put silicon in hands on this day, or we will die trying.
Yeah.
And like you said, their timeline is very aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't dislike that. I don't dislike that.
It's more that it could, that I hesitate to say this because it hasn't even been taped out yet, that maybe the ball that's being hidden is the aggressive timeline.
It could be. But what's the worst case scenario? That they need another 3 months to respin something, or that they have an aggressive timeline, and if it turns out they don't need a respin, they're able to hit that timeline. If you plan for delays, you're planning to slow down.
Again, maybe this is because they're a bigger company, but again, I'll reference AMD here.
Yeah, totally.
I'll bring up the the MI355 X.
Yeah.
They're already shipping samples to customers now.
Yeah.
This thing was supposed to essentially be shipping samples in like 2 months.
Yeah.
But they're already shipping to early customers now. Actually, as of last month, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So they had a longer time span, but they pulled in. I know it's a startup. I know that they need capital and all that. I get it.
They also may be too stupid to know any better. To know that they should slow down.
Potentially.
Right.
Potentially.
And honestly, that's honestly the startups that make it. The startups that hit things aggressively and go, we're going to ship something in Q1 of 2027 come hell or high water. We're going to ship a product.
Yeah.
If it hits, it hits. But at least we shipped a product.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even if we only sell 40% of what we thought we would ship, 30% of what we thought we would ship because we didn't hit our marks, we shipped a product and now we can keep moving. We can iterate on that product now.
We can't say how many they're planning on.
Yeah,
producing.
I cannot give the numbers that they were claiming.
However,
I pulled that number out of my butt. It's nowhere near what they said in either direction.
Yeah,
How's
so we can't say what the actual numbers
I want to be clear.
But I will say, I think if they don't sell enough, they could be in trouble.
Oh, certainly.
With the numbers that were given.
Yeah.
Right? I think that may be an issue.
There's a lot of investment in this company, which means they're expecting a big return.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find if there was... So, there was a seed round in July 2024. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen a Series A or a Series B or anything like that.
I haven't seen numbers, but it's a company that's also been operating for, 4 years now? This is 4 years in development?
Yes. They had seed funding
Yeah.
In July 24.
Right.
But there hasn't been a series continuation.
Right.
So Owen Hillwell, also known as Dark Matter, they do have a acceleration for Rocky. I did ask about that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say how, like, if it was 400 gig or 800 gig, but they can do line rate Rocky, at least for the 400 gig cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brian V again, Crunchbase has tumbleweeds for the money raised for bulk, and yeah, that's something that kind of worries me. A question that we should have thought of was, do you have enough money to tape out without a funding round?
Yeah,
we didn't ask that. I'm not really a finance person.
There were 4 of us in that room, and none of us asked that question.
Yeah, the question was literally like 30 minutes later. Should have asked that crap. Yeah. But, yeah.
Since people are talking about it, I want to take a picture of my stream setup right now, because it's pretty great. There we go.
Okay, I do apologize. My voice is...
It's been a long couple of days.
Yeah,
it really has.
Talking with a lot of people, lots of meetings,
lots of loud music.
Yeah, and my voice is starting to give up the ghost here.
So I'm gonna post to Bluesky and in the Discord my mobile streaming setup.
But yeah, no, not at all. I was exhausted by the end of the 4-hour stream with Ian.
This will not be a 3-hour stream, mainly because they close at 9, and so I'm going to give them the courtesy of making sure we're wrapped up by 8:30.
Yeah. So. Jay, I had con crud from what was it? ISSCC.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and my voice is mostly recovered, but these log streams really take a toll on it. So
streaming is difficult.
Yeah, it is.
Streaming takes a lot out of you.
It does.
Yeah.
And not just streaming, but also like something like this where you have to think on the fly and keep talking.
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially because I'm still not, like, I'm nowhere near as good as you or Ian at coming up with off-the-cuff stuff. So I have a lot more ums and ahs and...
Can I say at 374 episodes in, I have developed pretty well. Can I also say, since I had you on a couple times this last year. The first time I had you on the stream was, the Computex wrap-up with Jordan?
Yes.
And then I also had you on...
LA event.
LA event.
LA event.
Was it LA?
Yeah. Not Computex, because you weren't there.
No. You streamed from Computex to me. I was at home, and I had you and Jordan on the stream remote.
Ah, yes,
I think that was
correct.
it. Yeah, it was a year ago in May.
Yes.
You've improved dramatically since then.
Well, yeah. So
I know you've been doing the tech routines with Ian and everything else, but your flow, and you're getting there, man. I like it.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have a tech routine.
We'll make a podcaster out of you yet.
Hopefully we'll have a tech routine this week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, both Ian and I are incredibly busy.
Yeah.
Hopefully Friday night.
I want Ian to share a redacted calendar with all the names redacted, but just the color chart.
Just the color chart?
Just the color chart that he had going on.
Yeah, we've seen it, and it's like, oh my god, it's booked.
If anyone has ever done a 12-department Gantt chart, that's what Ian's week looked like.
Oh my god, yes.
That's what Ian's week looked like. It was insane. So, but this has been a very fun week already. Like I said, I've been here less than 48 hours. This is like 36 hours for me.
Yeah.
Like right now. From when my plane landed in San Jose.
Already.
It feels like 4 days because we have been just go. But yeah, Novella says Cheese keeps getting better and better on camera. Yeah, I fully agree. Except when he says Granite Ridge, but that's what the slides are for. That's what the cue cards are for.
Well, that's also what my editor makes fun of me. We have an inside joke that's just Granite Ridge. No matter what it is, it's just Granite Ridge.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, considering that was a complete off the cuff video. Actually, my RDNA 4 video was completely off the cuff.
Yeah.
And I rambled for like an extra 10 minutes, and I just did not care at the end of it.
Yep.
Because my voice was, because I was still recovering from the convention.
Yeah.
My throat was like near completely gone. So I was like, you know what? It's 26 minutes, and I don't care at this point. It's going up hell or high water. Yes. No, that's Cosworth, not me.
Yeah. I don't even remember what my funny name is right now. I'm Zinc Saucier. Futurama reference.
Okay.
I will not accept the title of Iron Cook. Instead, I will accept the lesser title of Zinc Saucier. By the way, that comes with double prize money.
No, but I still liked when Yakto was Seth Boyardee. That was a good one.
Seth Boyardee. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And as John Jay says, well, cheese always gets better with age.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. Granite Ridgeline Rapids, yes. Yeah. I have to get Yakto to rename me to that now.
That's a really solid truck, the Honda Rapids.
the Line Rapids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honda's all-wheel drive truck Accord, the Honda Rapids.
Well, they had, oh god, what was it? I only remember the Acura ZDX. I can't remember what the Honda version of that was called.
Is that the wagon?
The weird, like, lifted wagon.
It's a lifted wagon. That was the Honda Accord Cross X or something, I want to say.
Cross Tour?
Cross Tour.
Something like that.
Cross Tour.
Yeah.
It was a lifted Honda wagon. And it was wild. It's actually one of my favorite body designs by Honda. I thought it was actually pretty innovative and pretty attractive for what it was.
I hated it.
Granite Lake.
Okay.
Granite Lake. Threw a little intel in at you.
Yeah. No, but like
Ponte Vecchio Rapids.
Oh
no! If I say Ponte Vecchio one more time, it's 3 times. It's an incantation, and cheese goes crazy.
Well, you just said it 3 times.
No, I said it twice. I said it twice. I don't dare say it again.
Yeah. Okay, maybe it's because I remember the ZDX better, and the front end of that car was hideous. It was one of the ugliest things I think a car could look.
Vince says, you want to know one of the scariest sounds in the world? When literally every UPS in the house relay switches at the exact same time. And so I said, click, click. Because if you've ever heard a UPS relay fire for like a minor brownout, like 110 or 101 volts or something like that, you'll hear the relays go, but none of the alarms go off, none of your lights flicker, nothing happens. But your UPSs felt some tremor in the force. Did someone hit a power pole 3 miles away? Like,
yeah. So
did a million servers cry out in horror and were suddenly silenced? And your UPS twitched? I mean, it could have been that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
this is 1970.
what?
So
yeah. So
God,
I'm confusing cars with GPUs now.
Yeah.
My brain's completely fried at this point.
Let's wrap up Bolt.
Yeah.
My instinct after seeing their launch video, their soft announcement of what they wanted to do to change the world of GPU rendering. I don't want to say it felt like a rug pull or a shady Silicon Valley startup. but it kind of gave some of those classic vibes. It kind of gave some of those. They really don't. They have a lot of great ideas, but have no practical idea of how to implement it.
Yeah.
That's the vibes that I got, and maybe it was just the presentation. Maybe it was the way the speaker was delivering everything. It sounded like a bunch of technical garbledygook, like technobabble,
Yeah.
with no confidence or substance behind it. However,
Get the phase aligner to the
we've
the
realigned our tachyon
yeah.
emitters to figure out how to better ray trace scenes, and we're 300 times faster than a company that's been doing it for 30 years. It felt like that.
Yeah.
However, seeing their single ray tracing core on FPGA render a scene with better visual fidelity than an RTX 4090 was doing, and simply the math behind it at scale. That is a single FPGA RT core running at 100 megahertz versus their supposed final specs of 64 of those at 1.2 gigahertz. You're talking about an exponential increase that's absolutely insane. And probably 90% of the memory bandwidth that they need to support that, in theory. I know you disagree on memory bandwidth, but let's just roll with that, okay? I know you have your hesitations there, and rightfully so. You probably should. But let's say it scales the way that they think it will to that level of core.
And like, I have a lot of reservations about how they're doing that scaling.
Yeah.
Like, how are they calculating that number, considering that they only have FPGAs?
Right.
Like,
correct. And as we know, (100 megahertz to 200 megahertz doesn't necessarily always mean twice as fast.
no, because you run into memory latency, memory bandwidth, and
It could actually mean 2.5 times as fast. It could mean 1.1 times as fast, depending on your calculation, depending on your algorithm. It's not linear.
no, and
Math inside of algorithms is never linear, despite what your calculator says.
yeah,
But while they didn't have functional silicon that they had pressed themselves to display, their FPGA core, there's no denying that it did work. And there's no denying it was not CPU rendering. It wasn't a CPU rendered scene that they were trying to shove off as something else. There was actual substance to it there. If it scales,
yeah.
I think it's going to be successful.
If they
Is
can
it the
live
product
up-
you want delivered? Is it the absolute cutting edge? Maybe not. Maybe they get 60% of the way that they claim. But 60% still puts them faster than the incumbents in pure path trace environments.
So again, I hope that they succeed.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely hope that they succeed.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't get like tech startup bullshit vibes.
I didn't either.
I got almost overly optimistic vibes, and that there were maybe factors that they were not considering, mostly because they're new.
Yeah.
And like, while they have a lot of good people on their team, they are younger.
Yes.
So they may not, as much as I don't want to say, well, back in my, like, sound like, yeah, you have to be in this industry for 20 years to really know what you're doing. Look at me.
That's a bold statement from you, Cheese.
Like, look at me. I've barely been here for what, 4 years? Like,
He's already the grumpy old IT man.
but like, it may be that they aren't accounting for things that they should be.
Right.
And it could be things that degrade their actual numbers significantly.
Right.
But I think you're right in that if they can hit, heck, even a third or half.
Let's say half. Let's say half.
Half of the claims that they make.
Yeah.
They will sell enough cards for a Gen 2.
Yes, absolutely.
Do I know how much that will be in the end? No. But I do suspect that they will have enough money that has come down the pipeline
Yes.
for them to make Gen 2, make it better, make their assumptions more clear,
Yeah.
understand how this all sort of works in its whole system, and then improve on Gen 2 and move forward.
Yeah.
Because having a fourth player would be absolutely excellent.
And not only a fourth player, but a very unique player. Ooh, let's see. How is the Unholy Ghost? I'll do that.
And I'll have a Kolsch.
Also, are we still live?
We're still live. Please say hi. There you go.
Hey folks, I'm Felix.
He's
also
Felix.
known as CLC.
This crazy dude is the only dude who responded to a Necrode EV blog forum post.
Yes.
Back when I was modifying the Tesla K10 to turn it into a Grid K2. This is the absolutely insane bastard who helped me reverse engineer the resistors required to kick off the whole vGPU video series that I did.
Yes.
This dude right here. Holy crap. Thank you.
Pleasure. Enjoy the show, guys.
Yeah. And Felix, talk to you later. I want to hold him on suspense for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he walks in today and goes, "Hey, I'm Felix," and I'm like, "Yeah, Jesus talked about you." He goes, "Do you know we actually talked like a number of years ago? I have emails with you in which I was helping you with that." I'm like, "Holy crap, that was you!"
Yeah.
So that was fun. That's a blast of craft computing history.
Yeah.
For those who follow the channel. Anyway, like I said, putting a bow on Bolt. I don't get the Silicon Valley scammer vibes. I think there's substance there. I think they are definitely headed in the right direction. I think there's not only a viable product, but a viable competitor to a lot of things. And you said we welcome a fourth player in this ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we welcome the first player in a purely path trace ecosystem, because I talked to you a little bit about why Nvidia ended up doing path tracing and ray tracing the way they did is because they have 30 years of an existing rasterization pipeline in which they applied ray tracing graphics to.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid rendering system. That was my very first question for Bolt: is what exactly are you doing? Is this raster? Is this, not to put not to put a cheap word on it, but is this the parlor trick that Nvidia is doing and AMD is doing with path tracing? Or is this actual rendered path tracing? And he goes, this is 100% path tracing. We do have a raster engine to check our math. We do have a raster engine to still render some polygons in space. But we are creating 3D from path tracing.
Yeah.
And that's a new way of thinking about it. And the implications of that, gaming is a fun aside. Virtual production when it comes to cinema and filmography, and like they showed us in their second demo, EMI calculations and simulation when it comes to electromagnetic interference at like single wafer silicon level,
Yeah.
and things like that, predicting your EMI radiation before it ever becomes a physical product.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to have a good product on their hands eventually, but it's what level of scale of their expectations are they able to hit?
Yeah.
And either way, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I came in highly skeptical. Now I'm excited.
Just to me, again, I need to have the hardware. I need to be able to test it. And Wolf says, "Well, what's wrong with using novel hardware and software methodology that could start a riot? They could either start a riot in the fruit market." I assume what you mean.
I don't know what that analogy means.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being an innovator. Of course not.
Yeah.
Just there have been a lot of companies. One of my one that we've done kept up with and have done a series of articles on is Tachyon.
Yep.
They have made many claims over the years, and none of them have panned out because
Yeah.
they still don't have silicon to this day.
Yep.
They presented in Hot Chips 2021.
Yep.
Or 2018? No, it was 20. A long time ago.
A long time ago. Yeah.
They still don't have silicon yet.
Yeah.
My job is to be skeptical. Is it raining?
Yeah. It's been raining for like 20 minutes now.
And I'm only just not.
We are just inside the cover. It is raining 1.5 feet behind the camera.
Yeah.
I have a
The
tripod set up.
chairs are getting wet.
I have a tripod set up at the end of the table. The backs of the chairs in the table are getting wet. That's how close to the rain we are. It's great.
Yeah.
If we have a 2-mile-an-hour wind, my monitors are getting wet.
Are these waterproof?
No.
Oh God.
No.
So maybe we should wrap up here.
Yeah, we are on the razor's edge of getting soaked here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good chance to wrap up. Anyway, thank you for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Cheese,
Absolutely.
for joining.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is awesome. This has been Talking Heads live from Laughing Monk Brewery in Sunnyvale, California. Our Southern California Bay Area home away from home.
Southern California. This is Bay Area.
There's 400 miles south of us of California. There's 500 miles north. We are below the median.
This is central.
We are below the median.
This is Bay Area.
If you draw a line in the sand, we are south of that line in the sand.
This ain't southern.
I love to rattle people from California.
If you're south of Victorville, you are not in the. If you're north of Victorville, you ain't in the south. Sorry.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining episode 374 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news. Follow me on social medias at Kolsch here. There we go. Perfect timing. We got to close with some new beers.
Cheers.
There we go. He's got the Kolsch. I have the Laughing Monk Unholy Ghost Black Lager, 5%. So I'm going to sign off with this thing. Anyway, follow me on social medias at Craft Computing. Cheese, where can we find you?
So you can find our articles at chipsandcheese.com, as well as our videos at Chips and Cheese CC. If you just type in Chips and Cheese, you'll find me. And we have Twitter, Bluesky, and Tech Social. So Mastodon. But yeah, you can find me there and the rest of the CNC team as well.
Yep. This has been a lot of fun. Hope you all enjoyed the stream.
We went slightly longer than Jensen.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
We went 2 minutes longer than Jensen.
We did 2 hours and 27 minutes. So suck it, Jensen. No t-shirt cannon required.
Also, Brian B brings up the tech routine. So that's where Ian and I have our own podcast.
Yes, over on Tech Potato.
You may feature in potentially, if we may have to drag you in as another gravy.
Sure. I'll make it a full gravy. Little beer-aged cheese. That's all right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, have a good one, folks.
Thank you all so much. As always, we'll see you next week. After Party Craft, I don't know if I'm going to make the after party tonight, simply because I don't know what time we're getting back to the hotel when we're wrapping up here. If I'm able to, I'll join in the after party. That's on the Discord. Join the Patreon. Get access to the Discord. I'll leave you with that.